Let's farm an ancient mob to get some flowers that have long since gone extinct. Not only that, but this was one of the first farms I ever designed on the channel. So this really feels like a blast to the past. Not only farming ancient mobs and flowers, but also revisiting one of my original designs from years ago. Now this one used a clock and a minecart system to be as cheap as possible. But there is an alternative way that, depending on what you already have, might be easier. And that is by using mud. Mud is not a full block, so hoppers can pull items directly through the mud. And sniffers can even dig on the mud, so it's a win-win. So if you have access to mud and hoppers aren't expensive to you, this would be the easiest way. The build area is going to be as big as you want it to be. Same way with the materials. You will need 1 hopper to 1 mud, a 1-to-1 ratio. And you will at least need a stack of both. Assuming that you want the mud flush with the floor, we're going to start off by digging down 2, in as big of an area as you want. Now the reason I recommend having a volume of at least 64 is that a sniffer will not dig in any place that it's dug in the last 20 times. So if the area is too small, eventually the sniffers won't be able to dig. But we need to place a double chest off to one of the sides down at the bottom. This chest can be in the center, off to the side, literally anywhere, because all we're going to do is place hoppers pointed into this chest, in this entire area that you dug out, assuming that you wanted the mud to be flush with the floor. If you don't care if the mud is flush with the floor, you wouldn't have to dig down. You would just place a platform of hoppers all pointed into the chest. And now, how you point these hoppers into the chest really does not matter, because the sniffers are not going to dig often enough to actually create a bottleneck. So just make sure that all of these hoppers are pointed into hoppers that are eventually pointing into the chest. And once you have a platform of hoppers made, we just need to cover these hoppers in mud. So just place a mud above every single hopper, and that's basically all there is to it. So when you're done, you'll have a layer of mud on top of a layer of hoppers. Just make sure that you can still access your chest, so don't place solid blocks above the chest. Then lay down your sniffer eggs to give them time to hatch, and we'll talk about how to get sniffer eggs at the end of the video, if you don't already have them. Now we just need to trap the sniffers in so they can't escape, and you can use any type of block for this. If you want to use fences or walls, place those on the edge mud blocks, so that they're on top of mud. If you want to use full blocks like glass or cobblestone, just place those around the outside in a too tall area, so that the sniffers can't jump on top or that other mobs can't get inside. And you could even build this underground if you want to. Sniffers don't need any sort of special requirements. They don't need access to the sky. It doesn't matter. As long as you fence them in on top of mud, you are now totally done. I would also recommend building this somewhere that you hang out all the time. You want to keep this loaded as much as possible, because sniffers are kind of slow. They don't dig all that often. So depending on how many sniffers you have and how many seeds you want, it might take quite a while to get them in large quantities. We can also breed the sniffers using torchflower seeds that they dig up on their own. After they breed, they'll drop an egg, which, like the seeds and the pods, will automatically get picked up by your hoppers and stored in your collection system. So once you have 2 sniffers, you can have as many as you need. But now let's go over some of the mechanics, how to get sniffer eggs, and what you can do with these flowers. And the answer is really not a whole lot. They're mainly just really cool decoration. But just like any plant, you plant them in tilled soil, and they will eventually grow a flower. You don't need silk touch or any of that stuff in order to grow them, and you can't duplicate them in any way. But you can turn them into dye if you really want to. I mean, again, they're slow to generate, but the torch flowers make orange dye, and the pitcher pods make cyan, which is pretty cool. The eggs don't have any special requirement in order to pick up. You can just punch them by hand if you don't like where you placed them. The eggs will slowly hatch over time when placed on any block. But if you want them to hatch faster, you can place them on a moss block. If they're placed on a block of moss, they will hatch in about 10 minutes, whereas they will hatch in about 20 minutes if placed elsewhere. To actually get these eggs, first we will need a brush, which to craft a brush, all we need is a feather, a copper ingot, and a stick. So once you have your brush in hand, you are ready to go. The most difficult part about finding these eggs is they can only be obtained in warm ocean ruins. So if you look at the ocean floor, if it's covered in gravel like you see here, this is a cold ocean. Cold oceans have primarily gravel on the ocean floor. Whereas warm oceans, sometimes spawn coral reefs. So if you see a coral reef, that's a really good sign that you're in a warm ocean. But also, the warm ocean has sand on the bottom. And even if you see patches of gravel, if the majority of the ocean floor is sand, you're in a warm ocean. And what we are looking for are these warm ocean ruins. These can look like basically anything. Generally, they're built out of sandstone, maybe some magma, maybe some granite, but they have this suspicious sand, which suspicious sand just looks slightly different than regular sand, but you can use your brush on it to reveal its hidden item. Now there's no way to influence or change what item gets revealed, so you just have to wish for luck. But also remember that we're pretending to be archaeologists, so not all of the suspicious sand is going to be revealed from the surface. Sometimes you have to carefully dig around the ruins to reveal more suspicious sand. But you wouldn't want to break it, so be very, very careful when revealing the underlying blocks. I've broken many a suspicious sand throughout the days. But also remember that there are these hidden treasure chests underneath the ruins themselves that have treasure maps and cool stuff. So even if you can't find a sniffer egg right off the bat, you won't leave empty-handed. But these ruins come in all different shapes and sizes and materials. Some are big, some are small, but all of them contain suspicious sand. Now when brushing it, always be sure that there's a supporting block under the sand, because if it falls because of gravity and a block update, it will break, and you'll lose out on whatever was in that sand. So just go around brushing all the sand you can find and pray for good luck. Now if you notice that the item coming out is something you don't want, like if you see wheat or a golden nugget, you can just break it. You don't have to fully brush it if you don't want to. But you can get unique pottery shards from these warm ocean ruins. So if you like collecting those, you'll at least gain those along the way. Plus the hidden treasure chests with the treasure maps, you'll actually be gaining things throughout this process. But it took me 30 minutes to find this egg in creative. It's taken me like over 2 hours to find 2 eggs in survival before, so that I can breed the sniffers together. So just keep that in mind. This can be quite a long process. If you have access to the world seed, you can use chunkbase.com to find warm ocean ruins, which will save you a ton of time. But even doing that, you might have to go through 6, 7, or 8 ruins in order to get your egg. But sometimes you'll get it on the first try. It's all totally random, so I wish you all the luck in the world, and I hope that you have fun in this process. That's all we got for this episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, share, and subscribe. Be sure to leave a comment, even if it's just to say hi. Tell me why you want to farm sniffers, or if you like the flowers. Do you think they're really cool? Are you building a cyan dye farm? I would love to know. But always remember that you are totally awesome, and above all, don't forget to have fun. Bye-bye.